November 9th, 1942. The Pyrenees Mountains. Snow falls on frozen stone. A woman climbs. Each step carves pain through her body. The prosthetic leg, 8 pounds of carved wood and leather straps, drags through drifts that reach her knees. Behind her, the Gestapo, 500 agents flooding Lyon. Wanted posters on every corner. Her face sketched in charcoal beneath 5 words. The enemy's most dangerous spy. Ahead, a 7,500-foot mountain pass. 50 miles of ice and darkness. Spain. Freedom. Survival. Her name is Virginia Hall. The Nazis call her something else. The Limping Lady, and they want her dead. What makes someone extraordinary is rarely what you'd expect. Sometimes it's the thing that should have stopped them. The limitation that becomes legend. The weakness that transforms into weapon. This is the story of how a woman dismissed by her own country became the operative her enemies feared most. How a prosthetic leg nicknamed Cuthbert became as infamous as the spy who wore it. And how one person's refusal to accept the word no changed the outcome of World War II. Baltimore, Maryland. April 6th, 1906. Virginia Hall enters the world in a patrician family on Mount Royal Terrace. Money, status, expectations. Her future is already written. Marry well, host parties, raise children. She rejects it all. Roland Park Country School describes her senior yearbook as cantankerous and capricious, the most original of her class. She plays male roles in school productions, shoots, hunts, roams the fields of Boxhorn Farm, learning to milk cows and make cheese. Languages come naturally: French, German, Italian. By her 20s, she studied at Radcliffe, Barnard in Paris, Vienna, Austria. Paris in the 1920s opens her eyes. The jazz clubs, the intellectual salons, the emancipation of women. She falls in love with France, with freedom, with possibility. Her dream, the US Foreign Service, a life of adventure abroad. But when she applies, the rejection letter essentially reads, "No women, not going to happen." She refuses to quit. Through the back door instead. Clerk positions at embassies. Warsaw, Smyrna, Turkey, not what she wants. But a beginning. Then comes the day that should have ended everything. Turkey, 1933, a hunting trip with friends. She crosses a wire fence. Her foot catches. The shotgun discharges. Her left foot is destroyed. Gangrene sets in. The doctors have no choice. They amputate below the knee. She's 27 years old. Most would see it as the end. Virginia Hall sees it as an inconvenience. She names her prosthetic leg Cuthbert, 8 pounds of carved wood strapped to her body. It will never stop aching. It will slow her down, but it will not stop her. She applies again to the Foreign Service. Again, rejection. This time for her disability. The message is clear. You're not wanted. You're not capable. You're not enough. She believes none of it. France. 1940. War sweeps across Europe. In February 1940, Hall becomes an ambulance driver for the French army. She drives to the front lines as France crumbles. Wehrmacht panzers roll through the countryside. The government collapses. After France's defeat in June, she makes her way to Spain where, by chance, she meets George Bellows, a British intelligence officer. He sees something in her, gives her a telephone number, a friend in London. That friend works for a new organization, the Special Operations Executive, Churchill's secret army. His plan to set Europe ablaze. The SOE is desperate. They need agents willing to parachute into occupied territory, to build resistance networks, to blow things up, to risk torture and execution. Few people volunteer. Fewer still survive. When Virginia Hall arrives, she meets Vera Atkins, the woman believed to be Ian Fleming's inspiration for Miss Moneypenny. Atkins evaluates her. Multilingual, experienced in France, unflappable. But there's doubt. Prime Minister Churchill's war cabinet has forbidden women from the front lines, and Hall has a prosthetic leg. How could she operate covertly when she limps everywhere she goes? Hall tells them plainly, her neck is her own and she's willing to risk it. The SOE relents. After brief training, weapons, communications, lock-picking, surviving Gestapo interrogation with water torture, she's ready. On August 23, 1941, Hall arrives in Vichy, France, the unoccupied southern zone, nominally independent, but crawling with collaborators. Her cover, an American journalist for the New York Post. Her codename, Diane. Her mission, build a resistance network from nothing. Lyon, autumn 1941. Lyon is the heart of the French resistance. It's also a trap. Gestapo informants on every corner, collaborators eager to betray. One mistake means arrest, torture, death. Hall creates the Heckler network. She starts small, recruiting locals, establishing safe houses, identifying drop zones for weapons and supplies parachuted from England. An American diplomat at the U.S. consulate in Lyon allows her to use the diplomatic bag to relay intelligence to London. Downed Allied airmen are told to go to the American consulate and ask for Olivier, her code name, and she helps dozens escape to Spain. She stays at a convent, persuading nuns to help her. She befriends a brothel owner named Germaine Guérin, who passes along intelligence gathered by prostitutes from German troops. She's careful, methodical. She later describes playing on Gestapo chauvinism. None of the Germans believe a woman could be a spy, but invisibility only lasts so long. October 1941. 12 SOE agents are arrested in Marseille. Hall senses danger and refuses to attend the meeting. Her instincts save her life. The 12 prisoners are sent to Mauzac prison near Bergerac. Hall immediately begins planning their escape. Wireless operator Georges Béguet smuggles messages out. Hall recruits Gaby Bloch, wife of prisoner Jean-Pierre Bloch, to smuggle in tools hidden inside tins of sardines. Béguet uses the tools to craft a key to the barracks door. A priest smuggles in a radio. From inside the prison, Béguet transmits to London. Hall assembles everything they'll need. Safe houses, vehicles, helpers, 2 French police uniforms. On July 15, 1942, the prisoners escape. After hiding in the woods during an intense manhunt, they meet Hall in Lyon by August 11th. All 12 make it to Spain, then England. The SOE later calls it one of the war's most useful operations. Several escapees return to France as resistance leaders, but there's a cost. The Germans are furious. The Gestapo floods Vichy, France with 500 agents. The Abwehr intensifies operations to infiltrate and destroy resistance networks. They focus on Lyon, and they focus on the woman making it all happen. The French nickname her La Dame qui boite, the lady who limps. The Gestapo's Lyon chief, Klaus Barbie, later known as the Butcher of Lyon, is reported to have said, "I would give anything to get my hands on that limping Canadian bitch." He never learns her real name, never discovers she's American, but he hunts her relentlessly. Wanted posters appear across France, a sketch of her face, the words beneath, "The enemy's most dangerous spy, we must find and destroy her." Then comes betrayal. August 1942. A priest named Robert Alish approaches Hall in Lyon, claiming to represent the Wall Resistance Circuit in Paris. He carries messages containing information only Wall and Hall could know. She trusts him. It's a mistake. Alish is an Abwehr agent, a German spy. Driven by greed, he has infiltrated Wall, turned them over to the Gestapo, and pocketed the money meant for resistance fighters. He will ultimately engineer the capture of 60 more resistance members. By September, Hall knows her time is running out. She sends a message to London. My address has been given to Vichy. I may be watched. My time is about up. The net tightens. November 1942. Allied forces launch Operation Torque, the invasion of North Africa. In response, Germany abandons the pretense. Wehrmacht troops pour into southern France, occupying the entire country. Hall has hours, maybe less. She burns her documents, packs light, heads for the Spanish border, and begins to climb the Pyrenees. November 1942. The guide initially refuses. He won't take a woman, certainly not an amputee. The mountains are too brutal, the weather too harsh. Hall insists. She pays extra, not just for herself, but for 3 refugees who can't afford the crossing. They begin at dawn. The route covers up to 50 miles over 2 days, climbing to a 7,500-foot pass. Snow falls steadily. Temperatures plummet. Every step is agony. Cuthbert, the prosthetic, wasn't designed for mountain climbing. The straps cut into her flesh. The wood scrapes her stump raw. Blood seeps through her clothes. She keeps climbing. 3 days, 50 miles, ice and darkness. At a safe house, she radios London. Cuthbert is being tiresome, but I can cope. The operator in London, not knowing Cuthbert is her prosthetic leg, replies, "If Cuthbert tiresome, have him eliminated." Despite everything, she smiles. They reach Spain. Safety. But Spanish authorities arrest Hall for illegally crossing the border. She spends 6 weeks in jail before the American embassy secures her release. She makes her way to London. Most people would rest, recover, accept a desk job. Virginia Hall is already planning her return. London, 1943. The SOE refuses to send her back. Maurice Buckmaster, head of F section, is blunt. Her face is too well known. The Gestapo has her description. It's a suicide mission. Hall won't accept it. She tells Buckmaster, "I'm not doing a job. I'm wasting time. My neck is my own, and I'm willing to get a crick in it because there is a war on." When the British refuse, she turns to the Americans. The Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, precursor to the CIA, recognizes an opportunity. After taking a wireless course, she's hired by the Special Operations Branch at the rank of second lieutenant. The British grudgingly approve. But this time, she'll need more than new papers. She'll need a new face. The transformation. Hall gets a makeup artist to teach her how to draw wrinkles on her face. A London dentist grinds down her white American teeth to resemble those of a French peasant. She dyes her hair gray, pads her clothes to appear heavier. She practices the shuffle of an elderly woman to disguise her limp. Her new identity, Marcel Montaigne, an elderly milkmaid. Her code name, Diane. Her artificial leg prevents her from parachuting, so she arrives by motor gunboat at Began Fry, east of Roscoff in Brittany, on March 21, 1944, 77 days before D-Day, occupied France. Spring 1944. This time, the mission is different. D-Day is coming, the largest amphibious invasion in history, but it will only succeed if the Germans can't reinforce their positions. If their supply lines are severed, if chaos erupts behind their lines. That's Virginia Hall's job. She roams southern France, sometimes posing as an elderly milkmaid. On one occasion, she sells cheese she made to a group of German soldiers. They never suspect. She recruits a French woman, Madame Rabou, to accompany and speak for her, aware that her accent would reveal she's not French. She radios intelligence on German troop movements, maps drop zones, identifies targets for sabotage, and she recruits. By July 1944, Hall has over 1,500 French resistance fighters under her leadership. But there's a problem. She's a woman, a second lieutenant. The Maquis leaders, self-proclaimed colonels, bristle at taking orders from her. She complains to OSS headquarters. "You send people out ostensibly to work with me and for me, but you do not give me the necessary authority." She offers a deal. She'll finance them and supply weapons if they accept her advice. 3 plane loads of supplies in late July, and the money she distributes gain their grudging acquiescence. The results speak for themselves. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Allied forces storm the beaches of Normandy. Behind German lines, Virginia Hall's network springs into action. Bridges explode. Railway lines are severed. German communications go dark. Her team is credited with derailing freight trains, destroying 4 bridges, killing 150 Nazis, and capturing 500 more. The Germans can't reinforce, can't coordinate, can't respond effectively. By September, the Maquis and Haute-Loire clear the department of German soldiers before the American army even arrives. Entire villages are liberated by the Resistance Hall, organized, trained, and supplied. On August the 26th, 1944, Hall stands in Paris as General Charles de Gaulle leads the victory parade down the Champs-Élysées. France is free, and Virginia Hall helped make it happen. The aftermath. Most heroes want recognition. Virginia Hall wants to disappear. On September 27, 1945, General William Wild Bill Donovan presents Hall with the Distinguished Service Cross in a low-key ceremony. She's the only civilian woman in World War II to receive the award. President Truman wants a public ceremony at the White House. Hall declines. She intends to remain undercover. Only her mother attends the private ceremony. When asked years later why her extraordinary life remained hidden, Hall responds, "No one ever asked," adding, "Too many of my friends were killed because they talked too much." After the war, she tries one more time to join the Foreign Service, rejected again. Budget cutbacks, they claim. Instead, she joins the newly formed Central Intelligence Agency. She becomes one of only a handful of senior women in the CIA's clandestine service. For 20 years, she works in intelligence, always in the shadows, never seeking credit. She marries Paul Goualliot, a French-American OSS operative she worked with during the war. Her mother disapproves, so Hall keeps it secret for a decade. In 1966, at age 60, mandatory retirement forces her out. She moves back to Maryland, lives quietly, grows a garden. She leaves no memoir, grants no interviews, speaks little about her wartime service, even with relatives. On July 8, 1982, Virginia Hall dies at age 76. Most of America has no idea who she was, the legacy. For decades, her story remained classified, hidden in archives, known only to intelligence professionals, but the truth couldn't stay buried forever. In 1988, her name is added to the Military Intelligence Corps Hall of Fame. In 2016, the CIA names a new building after her, the Virginia Hall Expeditionary Center. Books are written, films planned. Her story finally emerges from the shadows. At the CIA's Langley headquarters, recruits learn how she pioneered techniques for setting up networks in foreign countries, methods later used in operations like Jawbreaker in Afghanistan. Her influence echoes through modern intelligence work, but the numbers tell the real story. 15 months operating behind enemy lines on her first mission, the longest of any SOE agent. 12 prisoners freed from Mauzac, all survived the war. Over 1,500 resistance fighters trained and supplied for D-Day. Countless Allied pilots and escaped POWs guided to safety. Of the more than 400 SOE agents sent to France, 25% didn't survive. Virginia Hall survived 2 tours. The Gestapo, the most feared secret police in history, called her the most dangerous of all Allied spies. They hunted her with everything they had. They never caught her. Returned to that mountain pass in November 1942. Virginia Hall climbing through snow and darkness, Cuthbert grinding her leg to a bloody stump, the Gestapo behind her, freedom ahead. That moment defines her entire life. A woman who refused to accept the limitations others placed on her, who turned disadvantage into advantage, who proved that courage isn't the absence of obstacles, it's the refusal to let obstacles define you. The State Department rejected her because she was a woman. They rejected her again because of her disability. Society expected her to marry well and disappear into domesticity. The SOE doubted a woman with a prosthetic leg could operate effectively. The Maquis leaders refused to take orders from a female second lieutenant. Every institution, every authority, every conventional voice told Virginia Hall the same thing. You can't. She proved them all wrong, not through speeches or protests, through action, through results, through becoming so effective, so essential, so dangerous that even her enemies had to acknowledge her importance. The Nazis never learned her real name, never discovered her nationality, never understood how one woman with a wooden leg could dismantle their operations, liberate their prisoners, and help bring down their empire. They just knew her as the Limping Lady, the one who got away. There's a quote attributed to Virginia Hall, spoken after the war to a colleague reluctant to return to dangerous work. You'll forget how cold you were. You'll forget all the frights you had, and you'll only remember the excitement. She remembered the excitement. But she also remembered her friends, the ones who didn't make it home, the ones who died because someone talked. So she stayed silent. Not because she was ashamed, not because she sought attention, but because real heroism doesn't need applause. It just needs to get the job done. And Virginia Hall, the woman deemed not good enough by her own country, the spy with the wooden leg, the Limping Lady who became a legend, got the job done better than almost anyone else in World War II. She didn't do it for recognition. She didn't do it for rewards. She did it, as she once said, for the love of France. And in doing so, she changed history.